All right, we've already talked a lot about AI, and I'm going to try to give you a framework of thinking about AI that I use, and I found it to be valuable. And of course, it's all about generative AI. We've used machine learning for years for sentiment analysis and all these things, but the more fun and I think useful tool is, in fact, generative AI. I don't know nothing about nothing, so I want to be clear that these are all opinions. They're based on some level of experience. Started my first business many moons ago, 25 years in e-com. Sold a fair amount of stuff. I think we calculated one time we've moved enough containers to go up the Mount Everest 30 or 40 times. So we've moved some product. So as I think about this, I think about it from real practical usability. But we're going to just start at the top, and we're going to think about this very logically. The first concept is AI first, right? And you heard Rick and the gang talk today about Miva is AI first. Wherever they can, they want to be AI first. And I encourage you guys to think that same way. If there's a job that needs done, how can we consider using AI first? The next is to focus on the job that needs done. Try not to get distracted by all the crazy, news and so forth. Just focus on the job that needs done. Can you go from A to B and get the job done? And then the final bit is just relax, everybody. It's going to be okay. There's very little chance that Terminator bots will rise up by tomorrow. Maybe in the future, but not tomorrow. So just keep calm. AI is going to come into every application and every workflow that you have. Whether you ask for it or not, it's going to be there. So how did it get started, right? The ChatGPT moment, this was to be honest with you, I was quite a skeptic. It sounded a lot like Beanie Babies. I'm like, this is a lot of hype, and I don't know where it's going. But after about a week, it's like, yeah, this is real. This is not just real, it's extraordinary. And not just because it makes funny poems and things like that. So OpenAI is the creator of ChatGPT, also Sora, that Ritu just talked about, Whisper, and many other things, including DALL-E. And the original DALL-E was amazing. The first version of DALL-E, when you could just go text to image, was like, holy crap, images weren't that great. The second version of DALL-E, still not that good. Okay, so the key takeaway for me is not just that DALL-E got better, which is useful in its own right, but it's also the continued conversation. So as you guys have ChatGPT conversations, or any of those that maintain context, going deeper and deeper and deeper. If I sat with ChatGPT, I could come up with a kids brand or a bicycle brand or any brand. If I spent 8 hours, I could come up with 10 or 20 products and stories behind them and all kinds of other things. So I want you to think about how you can use AI in its most productive way. We've got an elephant in the room. It is the fact that AI lies sometimes. They've marketized it. They call it hallucinations. But I assume if I was on the stand, I said I was hallucinating, that would not go far. So here's an example of ChatGPT 3.5. You don't have to read all those words, but basically it says I'm pretty awesome. The good news is I am awesome. The bad news is here's a bunch of lies, making me much less impressive. By the way, at the bottom, not only am I not the top 100 most influential person in retail, or people in retail, I don't know if I could break the top 100 in my own house, to be honest. Those books, by the way, that it says I wrote, they don't exist either. So it lies a little bit, right? Just a little bit. However, ChatGPT 4, a lot less lying, a lot less interesting, I'll be honest. I went from pretty awesome to, I could do better. So the point is, it does lie. We should know that, and we should take what it does or says with a grain of salt. It is getting better continuously. Don't let that be a stop for you. Perplexity is even better when it comes to search. So I use Perplexity to replace Google search in a wide range of things because it will do a bunch of citations or sources of that data. Now, there's a couple of Steve Simonson pictures over there that are not me, but all the text on the left is pretty accurate. Also, I could do better. So the point is, it's getting better, and I want you to think about how you use it. This is my framework of thinking about AI. You're the manager, so you're the boss. AI is the intern. And it's a really, really good intern if you use it well. It has the capacity to do things that, well, to be honest, they didn't have this, it was not even possible, in certain cases years ago, certainly, but even weeks ago. There are breakthroughs every week, it seems. So for somebody who is already awesome and brilliant, it's going to make you and accelerate you. If you're already, not so bright, it ain't going to help that much. So good luck to you. There is no immediate danger for AI. There's not enough power or chips to really to create that. So I say, just let's focus on being relevant and using AI. It doesn't matter your position. You can be the founder, you can be the marketing person, you can be anybody within the company, sales, etc., fulfillment, doesn't matter. If you use AI, it can make your job better and faster and easier, moving the humans up the value-added chain. Okay. So here's some actionable AI, and I'm going to dive in because John and Ritu did a great job of outlining some stuff. I'm going to give you just a couple tools, but I don't want you to think of these tools as the only answer. These are just tools to get a job done. So the job's the most important part. The tool, I'm agnostic. It's like whatever works for you. All right, so everybody uses Photoshop, or at least knows about it, and they came out with Generative Infill. So here's two random images from the internet. I know the resolution's not awesome, but I didn't have time to change it. So now it looks like they're together, right? They're out there rocking out, and it gives you multiple choices. Canva has this, other things have this. Generative Infill is a very, very good thing. Our generative backgrounds, different ways of thinking about it. That is a really cool use case. Whether or not you think those two should be rocking out together, the idea is that you can take a bunch of your existing content and you can redefine it and transform it. There is an open source product called Dragon. If you're good at GitHub, you can download this. And it actually allows you to take the subject and reset the focus points or the posture of those subjects, right? So you saw him move the lion, the cat's head can move. You can, kind of change the perspective of any subject, which is very, very interesting. And when you have kind of existing content that's not quite right, this can be kind of an interesting way to reset that content. So DRAGAN, free, open source, wonderful. GitHub, you got to download it, host it yourself, not as awesome. All right, Ritu mentioned MidJourney. It still is the gold standard of image generation. Like, it creates things that are absolutely beautiful. And one pro tip, if you take the MidJourney, all of the documentation in MidJourney, and you upload that to a ChatGPT conversation and some example prompts, then you go to ChatGPT for the prompt, it will make the best MidJourney prompts you've ever seen in your life. It's unbelievably better than just soft prompting or simple prompting on MidJourney. We've used that to quite a great result, where it will actually pick cameras and lighting and lenses, things that I would never know about. It figures it out on its own. So really interesting combination of AI improving AI. All right, here's a fun one. Again, Ritu kind of talked about this, but you just take a product, and there are a series of different programs out there, and it just does a generative AI backdrop for you. So now your product has a little bit more of a lifestyle shot or what have you. Again, you can make the prompting and make the images different based on your own criteria, but it's a great way to take something basic and simple and turn it into something, I think, a little bit more interesting to customers. Magnifique, interesting because if you have a situation where you need to upscale an image, it is an example. Now, by the way, upscaling will occur in many, many places, but there's a lot of times where we have a pretty nice image, but we need to make it better. And you can see from the swipe there, it really goes a great level deeper into that image than existed before. So upscaling, very, very important. And every possible place you can use very, very large images, I think is better for you than worse. By the way, this now applies to videos. So you can take this beautiful 60s image, great piece of history, and turn it into something that's like, hey, that's pretty good, 4K kind of stuff. There's processing, there's cost, but just imagine what you can do with some of these tools. If you've ever had these conversations, Rick talked about a conversation where you explain to somebody what you're looking for, and I'm a terrible artist. I literally draw stick figures with a circle and expect magic. Well, here, a prompt plus a stick figure, you could actually get magic. You can see it live renders packaging on the right side of the page. And I'll let this one play through a little bit. So not only can you just take very simple images and create the product design, the physical shape of it, but you then add that prompt below to add a little more context to it. Once you have one that you like, by the way, you can then take that to MidJourney and run a ton of different variations, which is absolutely spectacular. So you see we're taking that image, we're now popping it into MidJourney in Discord, which I hate. We're doing some infill, right, to say, hey, we want this part to be better, cooler, whatever, and MidJourney comes up with a ton of different options. And you can see I'm just going through it quick. But the whole point is, we used to say, here's kind of what we want with a pencil sketch, and now you can send that to the factory and go, that's what I want. Like, that's amazing, unprecedented opportunity to get something really cool. That's Creo. Okay, we're going to do a real quick, less than 10-minute, but this in your real life would take you about 10 minutes. If you need an internal training bot, or if you need external bots, here's the simplest way, whether you use Make or N8N or a tool like the one I have. Here's how you do it. First, I recommend no code. Rick talked about this earlier. No code is much easier for your organization to deploy. The bot sits between an LLM and a knowledge base, and an application layer is what makes it all work. And it's very simple. You train the bot with a knowledge base. Does it work? Yes or no? You keep going until it's yes, and then you deploy it with copy and paste. Whether it's internal, external, doesn't matter. So here's how you build a bot. You name the bot, you give it some initial instructions, you pick a model that makes sense, both speed and economics, based on the volumes. Then you give it a base system prompt, essentially, that says, here's your behavior, here's what your job is. In this case, we are making an internal bot for the Awesomers podcast, so that if we have people who want to talk, people who are internally being trained, they might need to know how to produce a podcast. So we're uploading a training document. You can see there. We can then have it scrape the website, so it just goes to Awesomers. It's going to scrape every 24 hours, so it keeps up to date. Once it's done scraping, we make sure it's trained and included in that knowledge base. This is that vector database that Rick was talking about earlier. Very important for high response and high accuracy. And then once you're done, you can go in and test and refine. So you can see every conversation the bot has, which is really important in my view, because you want to be able to find gaps, right? So if your bot is having a conversation, whether it's internal or external, doesn't matter the purpose, you want to be able to go in and say, hey, let's train a better response here, because this one wasn't quite right. And then I'll just play this real quick. Hey there. Well, let me go back. Ooh, that one's got pretty good, huh? Let's see if Amy's going to play. If I might have just copied the image, but if you want to talk to that bot I created, you can take this QR code, and I'll leave it open for a couple weeks. But it literally allows an internal person to come in and say, and I think I must have just grabbed the image. Basically, hey, I'm a podcast producer. What's my SOP to produce a podcast? Hey, I'm developing this. What are the different podcast types? And it's so simple, it relieves all the pain of endless SOPs and all those things. John talked about this a little bit as well. So very, very important. Internal bots for training helps reduce, and in fact, you guys at Miva have a couple of those internal bots based on documentations or developers. I call it internal, even though it's accessible to everybody, because it's an inside data set, right? It's for kind of pro use. But all of those use cases I want you to think about. They're very important. Now let's talk voice.
There. Did you know that AI voices can whisper? Or do pretty much anything?
Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats, because this is one bizarre sight. We have reports of an enormous fluffy pink monster strutting its stuff through downtown.
Fluffy bird in downtown? Weird. Let's switch the setting to something more calming.
Imagine diving into a fast-paced video game. your heartbeat syncing with the storyline. I gotta go, the aliens are closing in.
That wasn't calming at all.
Explore all those voices yourself on the ElevenLabs platform.
All right, you get the gist. You can make voices that are incredibly, incredibly fun, realistic, not realistic, like any way you want. When you talk to the voice or hear the voice, you shouldn't necessarily be able to go, this is a bot, right? In fact, there's probably a bunch of bots you've talked to you may not have even known. So ElevenLabs is great to design voices, and especially if you want to do text-to-speech for your own purposes, it's a really great tool. Here's some bonuses. Robbie, what's the time? Just so I... Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I got a bunch of bonuses here. I just want to know how bonus... Oh, man, that is exactly what I was hoping to hear. Let's go bonuses. This Ritu talked about. Take a look. Okay, the point is you can take a simple, still framed photo and you can dump it into one of these tools and completely transform it. And it is really an exciting way to kind of take existing content you have and extend it into kind of a whole new world. It's a fun way to take a look at it. Here's a fun one. Take a screenshot of this when you get a chance, because if you've ever thought about, can a voice bot be valuable? This phone will... You can ring the phone, it'll answer you, it's a bot, and it'll tell you why AI voice is amazing. And it'll kind of try to convince you to set up a schedule. The point is, you know, the still hiring humans to do kind of low-level robotic work is the wrong answer, right? A lot of times we have humans doing the worst kind of jobs. What's the status of my order, right? Or, you know, what's this product specification? There's a bunch of things that we see that humans are forced into doing that is not super value add. And what we have found is that when the humans can be kind of elevated to value added stuff and the bots can handle the low stuff, customer satisfaction actually increases and the speed and productivity also increases. It is a absolute salad day's time to be alive. Like, it is amazing to have these types of things work.
Recording a podcast is sometimes annoying, especially if you record a podcast next to the highway. But with Clean Voice AI Noise Remover, all that background noise is gone. It can remove coffee shop sounds, traffic sounds, and in general, any background noise you can imagine. Try it now today.
So if you have ever recorded anything with a bunch of background noise, right? Again, it doesn't matter if it's a restaurant or an airport or whatever it is, and you have that content that you think is valuable, this one actually has worked very well for us. We had a big mastermind, and next door they decided they were going to build a high-rise. And so it's just pounding and grinding and just the worst noise ever, almost rendering the videos useless. And we ran it through Clean Voice, and with the exception of just a couple digitization relics, it was really transformed into something usable. If you listen to it, you wouldn't get 5 minutes into that content without it being cleaned up. But now it's, you know, hours of good content. So a good tool there. Opus Pro, if you have long-form content, it will allow you to take that URL, let's say it's a long-form YouTube, and it will break it into what it considers potentially viral clips. It does all of the overlays. It will do any face tracking. So if you have two-person, it's cutting back and forth, it'll either stack them or split them. It's actually a very good way to reuse content. So long-form content, which is highly valuable, but if you've got a 60-minute podcast you've done and you can break it into 60, 1-minute clips that have the potential to be something for the TikToks or the YouTube Shorts and Reels and so forth, this is an easy way to do that, taking your own content, transforming it, and again, it will do all of the little overlays, text, etc. So very simple and nice tool. Ritu talked about this, very important. You need creative, it needs to be awesome, and you need a lot of it, right? Very often, big search engines or wherever you're doing your advertising, whether it's Meta, Google, Amazon, whatever, they want a lot of content because they want to test it, right? They want to test all these different creatives. And sometimes we'll even go, okay, yeah, let's make 4 or 5 or 10 creatives. But we never can make enough as humans because our ideation runs out, our time runs out, whatever it is. But Add Creative will just go ahead and it'll make 100 variations or 200 variations. And it even has an API. So if you are into that automation idea, you can just fire in, hey, go make me 200 of these. We'll then upload them to the Meta or Google or wherever you're doing it. And then you could test all that creative in a natural, natural is the wrong way to say, algorithmic way, but let's just say testing is better than not testing. And you need the content to do it.
Welcome to the definitive iPhone versus Android video. De acuerdo. Bienvenido al video definitivo de iPhone versus Android. D'accord. Bienvenue dans la vidéo finale de l'iPhone versus Android.
So you literally just drag and drop a file, right? John showed an example of this in another tool. HeyGen's one that has been very, very positive and successful for us. Multiple languages, and you literally just drag and drop your original file, and it doesn't just translate it, right? It lip syncs and changes the video to line up with it as well. It's exceptionally good. HeyGen is definitely one of the leaders. And I want to give them a little URL to ads concept. John showed an example of this. I'm going to show just another example real quick. Hopefully we get Miva's logo up there. We'll talk to my buddies at HeyGen and get Miva up there so that you can take a URL and do the following. So we call this URL to UGC, right? So we take that, this is a product my buddy has, and it went and grabs all the product details and all the images, any videos if they're available, and then it says to you, hey, what's your ad for? What's the purpose, right? As you guys know, audience being the most important part of that. So you define your targeting, you get into the language, and of course, if you're doing projects and so forth, you can do more breakdowns. But once you've selected that, then it gives you different scripts, right? And I selected, in this case, the TikTokers, because I understand that's a big deal. And then now you come into the TikTok kind of breakouts, and you pick your templates. And you say, I want this template or that template. Then you select your avatar, right? You got all these different influencers. You just pick one. And then you pick kind of the length of time and background noise. I picked 48 seconds there. And then you click go, and it processes for a few minutes, and this is what you get.
Introducing Rhino USA retractable ratchet tie-down straps, the game changer in tie-down technology. No more worries about tangled or undone straps. With a 3,033-pound brake strength, these heavy-duty, 10-foot-long, 2-inch-wide retractable ratchet straps are built to last. Mount them easily on your trailer using the pre-drilled holes. Plus, each kit includes a carrying case, sticker pack, and warranty activation instructions. Join the Rhino family and support a USA-based father-son business. Buy now and experience the ultimate in quality.
So I touched none of that. It took me 30 seconds to click the buttons. Could I make that better? Yes. Clearly, right? But as John said, this is the worst it'll ever be, right? So as you start thinking about how can I use these things, or do I need to use these things, this is a great tool to just help you test and realize content in the quickest way you can imagine. So this is just kind of your own product URL to UGC, very effective. I didn't add that Rhino logo, like it did all of that stuff on its own, pretty neat. Let's take a look at the next one. So this is in video. And this is something that allows you to just prompt to a video, right? And so in this case, we said, hey, we want a morning habits routine. It's got to be under 45 seconds. And go to this blog and get the content from this blog, right? So we recommend kind of a 6-step method in this. And those
Transform
are the steps.
your day before it even begins with these 5 life-changing morning habits. First, rise with the sun. Waking up an hour earlier can reduce depression by 23%. Second, move your body. A quick jog or yoga stretch can kickstart your energy. Third, Hydrate. A glass of water first thing revs up your metabolism. Fourth, eat the frog by tackling your most challenging task first. It's a surefire way to boost accomplishment. And finally, take a moment for gratitude. Reflecting on the positives sets a tone of optimism for your day.
So you see, just with a simple prompt, it comes up. I'm sure you guys have seen this kind of stuff in your feed constantly. If it's high value add, great, people are happy with it. If it sucks, then it always will suck. The one thing I can tell you, a little pro tip, is if you do like part 1 of 5, part 2 of 5, and then part 5 of 5, people will jump into your social media looking for parts 3 and 4 that may or may not exist. That gives a big sticky signal to your socials. So again, invideo.io, very simple. Let's take a look at Wonder Dynamics.
Filmmaking is a medium of creativity and collaboration between artists. There's no AI that can replace that. Wonder Studio was built to empower those artists while still keeping the existing 3D process in mind. Alongside the rendered results, Wonder Studio gives you the ability to export the individual layers you need to deliver your final visual effects shot. Whether it's lighting, camera, or animation, you can maintain full control and make detailed adjustments in 3D space. From the paintbrush, to the typewriter, to the camera, tools have always been an extension of the artist, a means to help our voices be heard. With Wonder Studio, we hope the world hears yours.
So my takeaway on this is, holy crap, we are just as good as Lucasfilms, and we have the best stuff that all of the CGI guys spent millions and millions of dollars on. You can shoot it on your iPhone, you can throw it in Wonder, and you can do whatever you want with it, right? So there's a lot of use cases. Like if I had a kids brand, the box openings with a little wizard or a clown. Well, not a clown. Clowns are scary. Forget the clowns. But you can have any character you want start to do stuff, right? That is a very powerful message. And to use CGI, you get the chance to use CGI. And this is dozens or hundreds of dollars, not millions, like the olden days. Here's another one for you. The takeaway very clearly is there are no limitations anymore, right? All you have to do is start typing and you can have world-class marketing materials, support materials, anything that you're trying to generate. This is a new day, right? We get this opportunity, and for marketers especially, it's really, really valuable, but there will be other applications for various tools throughout the organization. Let's go ahead and click on the next one. This is Sora, and it added ElevenLabs for sound. I'll just give it a quick play here, and you'll see some of the quality. So it's not perfect, but just think of this. The AI did all of this. It did the reflections. It did every person. Some of it's a little uncanny valley, but every detail, all that lighting, the ambiance, the waves hitting the rocks, the snow on the dogs. And that's right now. All you have to do is imagine what it'll be like in 5 years.
In a place beyond imagination.
All right, we'll jump to the next one here. So, interesting little story. So we've been talking about text to video the last few ones. There's lots of variations, lots of use cases, but a lot of people don't realize Cinderella is a fairy tale from the 1600s, like 1647. So not copyrighted, and here's somebody who made their own little Cinderella 30-second clip. So again, the application of this, whether you have a kids brand or a, apparel brand, like there's a million ways you could use this with different themes. Again, avoid copyrights and trademarks, right? That Disney castle, it looks pretty Disney to me, but I'm not a lawyer, so what do I know? The point is, you can do stuff that's really cool and interesting and previously impossible to do with AI, and it's fast and it's...
This is how I looked 30 years ago. He can even remove my mustache. The possibilities are endless.
Well, that's fine by me. So wake me up when it's all over. You're watching, sin, que you're watching, sin. Todo este tiempo tratando de encontrarme yo. Está perdido.
Pretty nerdy stuff. Serious nerds. But nice.
By the way, that's not Tom Cruise. That is deep fake Tom Cruise. So one word about all this text to video stuff, right? There are some dangers, right? Somebody could literally make images of you saying things in your own voice. So I want you to think about that from a security perspective. While it's very fun in certain applications, there are some security issues that may result. And so I love watching some of this stuff that they create. But, for your own thought process and security, I'm talking about your bank getting a video call from you in your voice, like the bank it looks like it's you, right? And assuming they pass certain security protocols, I want you to be aware of that. Same thing with family, right? I recommend like a passcode, right? There are lots of types of scams. And this is not to scare you, but just to say, yes, sometimes AI lies. We got to be aware of it and do our best to avoid that and validate it. Other times, deep fakes, they look real. How could you tell the difference? They're fun overall, but there's a smidgen, just a smidgen of potential pain. All right, so final review, AI first. Whatever the job is, figure out how AI can do it first. Agents are coming to us everywhere. AI is coming for you. Nope, AI is coming to you in whatever way that you want it to, which will be better than it coming for you. Stay focused on the jobs that need done. Don't get distracted. You don't have to go invent ways to work with AI. It will definitely find its way into your workflows. And then, again, just stay calm. It's all going to be okay. There's no immediate danger of all of our jobs being replaced. AI has great potential as a tool, not so much as a replacement for brilliant people. So that's it for me, everybody. Thank you.